So my real job currently is I'm a teacher. And as a teacher, I'm a mover. So I'm going to step away from this here in a second. Check. Is this working? Can you hear me? Excellent. All right. So I have another car story for you. If you're here in August, I told you about the story. I had this old car that didn't run all that great, and I ended up selling it, and I bought a ring for my now wife. I don't know if you remember that story. But I have another car story for you. So I live on a little farm. We live south of Casson. See if that works. We live south of Casson, near a little town called Oslo. And so yeah, I'm very Norwegian too. So maybe that's why I feel so at home here. But so we live about it's probably 8 miles south of town. And so I've got a daughter who's in soccer. She's pretty involved in school. So I find myself going back and forth to town often. And though it's only 8 miles, I still I have this old 05 F-150 that gets maybe 12 miles to the gallon or something like that. So I find that I'm at the gas pump a lot. And so I decided that I still need this truck, but I had just paid it off, so I'm going to buy a car. So I started looking for cars, and guess what I started looking at? Buick Regals. They're like $800 now, and that's not what I looked for ones that I thought, I could drive it. It might last a couple months. Maybe it'll last me a year. I don't know. So then I thought, maybe I should try to find something a little bit better than that. So I started looking at like the $3,000 cars somewhere in there. And they were nice, but they had like 180,000 miles on them, and they were rusted out, and it would probably serve its purpose, but I thought, gosh, I have a daughter who'll be driving in 2 years. Maybe if I could buy something just a little bit nicer, then that'll be her car. And so I decided to buy just a little nicer car. It's a 2012 Chevy Malibu, nothing super fancy. But I bought it from a guy I've known for many years. He lives in town. His name's Jerry. And the reason I know Jerry is I actually dated his daughter in high school. And I've known Jerry, and he takes very good care of his cars. And so when I saw he had this one for sale, I thought, gosh, I think I'm willing to spend a little extra money to get a car that Jerry wants owned. So I bought this car a few weeks ago. And it's got the fancy, like, push a button and call somebody, And so his wife had set it up for her, and then I added a few numbers in for mine. And so the other night I needed to call my wife. My wife's name is Jenny. And so I pushed the button and I said, call Jenny. And the car said, okay, calling Jerry. So I'm like, no, nuh-uh. No, not Jerry. And then I hear the phone starting to ring. I'm like, no, don't call Jerry. Please, stop, cancel. Don't do this. No, don't call Jerry. And then pretty soon, in the midst of all this, I hear, Pete? What are you doing? Oh, Jerry, I just wanted to call and let you know how much I love this car. So, though it's a pretty plain Jane car, it's got this fancy thing, so I've got some learning to do. But this does tie in, believe it or not, to what I want to talk about today. And, I've prepared some sermons now in my learning. I've prepared sermons, and oftentimes it's pretty easy to build a sermon off of the gospel reading. But today God was telling me that I needed to preach on Numbers. And I've never, ever thought that I would ever be preaching on Numbers. Of all books in the Bible, I didn't think I'd be preaching much on Numbers. But I want to tell you about 3 things when we learn about the Israelites in the wilderness with Moses. 3 things. And I see 3 things when we heard our first reading today. The first thing I hear is discontentment. The second thing I hear is Moses getting upset with God and being persistent. Third thing, I'm hearing prayers being answered and the Spirit being laid upon people. First thing, discontentment. I want you to think about something in your life that you would like. Maybe it's a Chevy Malibu. But no, there's something, we each have things in our life that we want, right? There are things in your lives that you need. Absolutely. Sometimes those things you can probably talk yourself into, truly, do you really need it? Right? I think about the Israelites here. They're in the wilderness, and they're missing food. They're missing vegetables and meat, the things that they once had. And now what they get to eat, they have plenty of it, is manna. My wife makes a really mean chicken noodle soup. Like a homemade chicken noodle soup. She just made chicken noodle soup last weekend. And when she makes chicken noodle soup, she makes a big old kettle of it. I mean, it's big. And it takes her a few hours to make it, and the smell is filling the house. I can't wait to get my hands on it. And it's so stinking hot that the burnt tongue is worth it. I don't need to feel the roof of my mouth for a few days, it's worth it. So I have probably 2 or 3 bowls of soup when she makes it. And then I have enough, she makes it so much that I have plenty for the rest of the week. And so by Friday, I'm still eating her chicken noodle soup at lunch. She's not here, so I can say this. I kind of get sick of it then, right? Don't tell her. If we come back, you tell her that story. But you start to maybe not appreciate as much, right? I've been eating that soup all week. I don't want that soup now for a while. I think about the Israelites there. They say, we want, and they're discontented, right? Now, I'm not saying that my wife's soup is manna by any means. I think the Israelites would have loved to have that chicken noodle soup too, but we get discontent. And so then they go to Moses, and they're complaining, right? That we're sick of this. And Moses, he has many layers. Moses has so many layers that we get to see a real, true human. Like, I can relate to Moses when he's mad at God. If you think about what he's saying to God, he says, I want to read to you again. It kind of struck me. He says in verse 14, I am not able to carry all this people alone, for they are too heavy for me. He's saying, if this is the way you're going to treat me, put me to death at once. I can relate with that. Can you? I can relate with God at a time where I wasn't very happy with him. I was confused, wasn't sure, praying about something. My prayers were not being answered. I swore my prayers were not being answered, and I was upset. And there's nothing in the Bible that tells us that we can't do that. It's okay. God understands you. He understands that when you're faced with challenges and trials and temptations and fear and shame, all of those things, He knows what you're going to do. He knows how you're going to respond already. So when you get mad about it, you're not surprising Him. He knows that you're going to do that anyway, right? It's okay for us to get upset. What we do with that, beyond that, is that we lay it all out there. Then we need to fully trust that He will then answer your prayer. Which then leads me into, like I said, the second thing that I was talking about was with Moses being upset with God. You think about the want, again, that discontent. The 10th commandment tells us not to want what our neighbors have, right? I don't want a Chevy Malibu. I want a new Ford F-150. That's what I really want. Do I need it? No, I don't. I want cattle. I have goats. And chickens. They're great. I grew up on a dairy farm. And so I've always had this dream of having my own cattle. But so I settled with short cattle. They're like that. But my wife, and I tell her, I'm like, what if we got a couple steers? We could just raise a couple steers. And she said, I would like to leave our farm every once in a while. So I don't think I'm getting cattle anytime soon. I would like more hunting land. I'd like more hunting land. When I come to Rushford, I really would like some more hunting land. But it's not that easy, right? So many things I want. Do I want what my neighbor has? Absolutely. He's got a brand new F-150, black, with a new topper on it. It is beautiful. Of course I want that thing, but I can't afford it. But that's okay. Communication. So Moses goes to God directly, and he's able to tell God about the Israelites' concerns. And God then, instead of, and I think about this, as a father, if my daughter comes to me and says, what am I supposed to do? It's too heavy. And by the way, I have my daughter in class this year. So I get to hang out with the 14-year-old all day at school. And I get to come home to a 14-year-old at night. And I do get that every once in a while. Did you get your homework done? So I think Moses is kind of doing that right now to God, isn't he? You put me in charge of all of them? But instead, I would react like, Moses, shut your mouth and get back and do your job. That's what I think of as a dad. I would probably do, but he doesn't. Instead, he blesses him. And he says, you know what? Gather 70 elders. I will bless them. He lays the Holy Spirit upon them, and that's how God handles the situation. When somebody complains, I want to tell you a story today about Uncle Butch. Let's see here, a week and a half, it would be 2 weeks ago on Tuesday. Uncle Butch is a guy from my family who is actually my brother's brother-in-law. So it's my sister-in-law's brother, okay? He's a year older than me. I've known him now for about 20 years, probably. Uncle Butch is what my brother's kids call him, and now my kids call him, and even I call him Uncle Butch. One of the most wonderful human beings on the face of the planet. Uncle Butch is an adventurous guy. He's active. He lives in Missoula, Montana. He once had a job with Polaris, building Victory motorcycles. He was in magazines because of his smarts with all of these motors and stuff. And he had this amazing job in Wyoming, Minnesota. And then he told me this one day. He said, I'm moving to Montana. I'm going to school out there. I'm like, what? Why? Something different. So he goes to Montana, gets a different degree. I don't even know what. And then, so that he's an avid skier. He's an elk hunter. He's, and believe it or not, he's not married. I don't know how, but he's just the coolest dude ever. So I get a call from my mom almost 2 weeks ago, and she said, hey, Pete, should I have some bad news? She said, Uncle Butch is in a bad logging accident today. I said, okay. It sounds like he doesn't have any feeling in his hands, doesn't have any feeling in his feet. He can't. So they're flying him now to the nearest hospital, and they're going to be performing surgery on him. And so it wasn't too long, a few hours later, they had performed surgery. They fused his vertebrae, whatever, they fused his neck, and he's called what they call an incomplete quadriplegic. He's got movement of his arms, no feeling in his hands, nothing below the waist functioning. And I was mad. Thank God, for probably a couple days. And I asked him, a guy like Uncle Butch, who's done nothing but good in the world, he's done nothing but push himself, challenge himself. He's been there for me, my family, not even related to the guy. Why Uncle Butch? And I had that upset feeling for a while. And then I went to this. Have you ever met somebody who's got challenges in their life and they don't know how to truly give their hearts to God? What do I say to Uncle Butch? What do I say to him? Hey, sorry. Trust that God's going to take care of you. Sometimes it does. Sometimes those words, you're not sure how to convey them so that they truly are hearing them. But over time, those wounds, that hurt is healed because it's the truth that God is there for Uncle Butch. He is there, even when we're hurting the most. I want you to consider being very persistent in your prayers, just like Moses was. For example, in 1 John chapter 5, verses 14 and 15, this is the confidence we have in approaching God, and if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have what we asked of him. In Ephesians chapter 6, verse 18, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people. Mark 11, verse 24, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Unanswered prayers don't exist. All your prayers are answered. When you ask for something, and you don't get it, like that, it doesn't mean your prayer wasn't answered. It means that it's being answered. Because God answers your prayers every single time. He will never let you down. He will never leave you there without answering your prayer. So though it may not seem like it in the moment, prayers are being answered. And I pray that you will feel it, you will believe it, and you'll truly accept that. And feel it at some point here, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's today, whether it's next week, or 3 years from now, you will feel your prayers being answered. Amen.